Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, welcome, welcome. You're watching the House of War. This is episode 21. Episode 21. I'm Rok Makovu, and I just want you to do one thing for me, two things for me, maybe three things for me. Please hit the like button. Hit the like button. Make sure you hit that. I'm waiting on you. Hit the subscribe button. If you want to continue to watch content like this, we dive deep into some stuff, man, that a lot of people are scared to talk about. And we like to keep it real, right? And so share this video, share this live. I'm live right now, live on YouTube. We drop every day. You hear me? So you at the right place. If you want to get some information, you want to get a perspective from a Christian man like myself, a conservative guy, I'm your boy. So let's get it, man. First thing we talking about a very interesting topic, right? A one that people don't really know or get to hear about. And it's fun with me because I love history. I love understanding the world and how it came to this point. And today we're talking about, first we're going to unveil the history, the forgotten stories of the enslaved Europeans. That's right. Europeans were slaves at a certain point, and by the millions, and they were enslaved by the Moors. Who are the Moors? What's Europeans? We're gonna get into all of that. We're gonna get into all of it. Okay, but we're gonna take it all the way back first. Okay, let's go back before the transatlantic slave trade, way before America was even on the map. You've heard the stories of Africans being taken by Europeans, but what if I told you there was a time when the tables were reversed, when Islamic North Africans invaded Europe and enslaved Christian kingdoms for centuries? This is not about race, it's about culture, conquest, and the consequences of war. And tonight, we're going to get into the Moors. So, who were the Moors? They weren't a single tribe or ethnicity. The term Moor was used by Europeans to describe Muslim North Africans, mostly from modern day Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, and Mauritania, who practiced Islam and built a powerful military theocratic society. Under the Umayyad Caliphate, these people stormed across the Mediterranean and took control of the Iberian Peninsula, today known as Spain and Portugal, in the year 711 AD, under a commander named Tariq Ziyad. He crossed the Strait of Gibraltar, and by 718, the kingdom of Visigoth Spain had fallen. From there, the Moors established Al-Andalus, an Islamic state in Europe that lasted nearly 800 years. This is the rise of the Moors. Now let's talk about the slavery. From the 8th to the 15th century, the Moors enslaved hundreds of thousands of Europeans. They weren't just random civilians, they were Christian nobles, peasants, soldiers, monks, and entire communities taken from places like Spain, France, Italy, Sardinia, Corsica, and even as far as the Iceland and Ireland. The Moors didn't enslave based on skin. They enslaved based on power, culture, and resistance to Islam. So if you were a Christian who opposed Islamic rule, you were a target. Many were taken in raids along the Mediterranean coast by barbaric pirates under Moorish command. They were then marched to slave markets in Fez, Algiers, and Tunis, who brought to cities like Cordoba and Granada to work in quarries, mills, households, construction, prostitution in some extreme cases, or even concubines and palace attendants for Islamic rulers. The slavery was systemic. It was part of a broader Islamic slave economy. Under Sharia law, non-Muslims, called dhimmis, were subject to higher taxes and limited rights. Slavery was justified under jihad if captives resisted conversion. European slaves became part of the North African tribute economy. Entire coastal towns in Italy and France paid tribute, protection money, just to avoid being raided. In fact, in 846 AD, Muslim raiders sacked Rome itself, pillaging St. Peter's Basilica. The entire economy of the Barbary states revolved around ransoming Christian captives back to Europe. That ransom money funded navy ships, fortresses, religious centers, and even trade with the Ottoman Empire. You see, these people were after a certain demographic of people. It wasn't just let's get the whites. It wasn't that. It was just after a demographic of people, which were the Christians. I think the European kingdoms just sat back. No, they didn't. The European kingdoms did not just sit back. The kingdom of Leon, Castile, Aragon, and the Catholic monarchs of Spain fought for centuries in what's called the Reconquista, a military campaign to drive out the Moors, and it worked. By 1492, the Catholic rulers of Ferdinand and Isabella finally defeated the last Moor stronghold in Granada, ending Islamic rule in Western Europe. But that wasn't the end of the slave trade. Even after losing Spain, the Moors continued raiding in the European coastline through barbaric pirates all the way into the 1800s. Entire towns in Ireland and even coastal England were emptied of people, taken to North Africa and never seen again. One notable case is the sack of Baltimore, Ireland in 1631. Villagers taken in a single night and sold into slavery. So what drove the Moors to enslave Europeans? Why did this happen? Because this wasn't about color. It was about power. The Islamic caliphates believed in conquest and submission under Allah. To them, non-Muslims who resisted were legitimate spoils of war. The Moors gained political dominance over Christian enemies, free labor to build cities like Cordoba, which became one of the richest cities in Europe, access to European technologies, languages, and trade ports, and spiritual leverage. Enslaving infidels was seen as a part of the Islamic expansion project. And while the European church also committed its own sins later, this moment in history proves that slavery wasn't one-sided. It was mutual, brutal, and cultural, not racial. The legacy of the Moorish slavery still lingers. So let's talk about the long-term legacy. You heard about European imperialism, but you rarely hear how Islamic powers dominated European soil for 800 years and built empires through enslaving European Christians. Cities were shaped, cultures changed. Even the Spanish language still holds Arabic influence today. But what matters most? History is not about blame, it's about recognition. If you only tell one side, you're not educating, you're manipulating. And that's what the House of War is. Man, we're here to fix this. And let's be honest about all of it. So next time someone says Europe was always the colonizer, remind them that before the ships left Africa, North Africa had already colonized Europe. This was culture versus culture, kingdom versus kingdom. And if you want to talk about the truth, we can talk about all of it. You see, these stories are never spoken of. BJ asked me this the other day. That's what he was telling me. He said, well, we know who the evil people are because black people never enslaved any other group of people. But see, the Moors, they weren't just black, right? These were Arabs and Africans, people from Arab nations, and then you have people from African nations. But race doesn't exist, so it doesn't matter who or what they looked like, because what you look like isn't who you are, it's your culture. But the truth is, the Moors were Arabs and Africans, and they enslaved Europeans, Christians to be specifically. So it wasn't that, oh, it's white, they're white. No, it was they're Christian, right? And they had to fight to get out of bondage. But their influence is still prevalent to this day. So these forgotten stories, ask yourself, why are these stories forgotten about? Why nobody speaks about them anymore is crazy. But here you have it. Yes. So next time somebody asks you, when were white people ever slaves? The Moors enslaved them for a long time, a very long time. Let's go on to the next story. So I know everybody's hip. I know everybody been getting the news. I know everybody hears it all. We're gonna go into it real briefly. I won't spend too much time on this, but we're gonna talk about Diddy. The shocking details from Diddy's court proceedings. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna showcase it to you. Now, Diddy has been. I've been hearing a bunch of different things, from a bunch of different people, hearing a bunch of stuff. But what shined a light on me today was this guy on Piers Morgan. His name was Big Homie CC. Oh man, he went in, and it was crazy to hear because this guy says people after his life. So he's a celebrity bodyguard. You know, bodyguards get access, a lot of people don't. And this dude is supposed to be someone that has a lot of information on it. But the funny part is, I've never heard of this guy until today. So weird, right? But I'm gonna show you a clip of him speaking on Piers Morgan about Diddy and his lawsuit.
Well, there's a lawsuit that I'm listed in where allegedly I quipped Combs about his sexual deviant activity, and I protected the plaintiff and pointed a firearm at Mr. Combs. That's what the paperwork says. They don't have their facts right, but you know, I have a reputation for maintaining a proper balance.
What was he doing, Combs, at the time?
Yeah, so that's all alleged. So you know they don't really got they don't have the facts correct with that situation. There's some sort of conspiracy going on because the same law firm that has brought this case, they tried to file this same case last year. They finally got it amended this year. And this same law firm was trying to pay me $5,000 to come talk on an interview. I turned it down, and then they filed this paperwork. You know, I firmly believe that this lawsuit was filed by people off his side to try to discredit me, other witnesses, and to try to get this current case that he's on thrown out. That's how deep this goes, because the law firm who brought this asinine case, nobody can seem to track them down. How can they have this case amended? Who has the finances to file this type of lawsuit? You know, I got to pay Ed Zappia $15,000 to represent me in a case like this while this trial is going on. Something weird is happening.
But just to be clear, was there an incident where you witnessed somebody who was being abused or about to be abused or had been abused by Diddy, by Sean Combs, and you intervened and warned him to stop?
Definitely.
And what can you tell me about that?
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's the thing. Like, it's an open case, so like I can't really expound too much on that. But I've had several calls about this guy. I've had several calls about his son. People reaching under ladies' dresses, fondling them without asking for permission. Where did he learn this behavior from? Where would he learn that from? Legendary Dapper Dan said he grew up, he knew Combs' parents, and he said what's going on with Combs didn't start with him, it started with his family. The same things that I see when I'm battling trafficking cases. The most common enablers of this activity are close relatives, families, and friends.
Yeah. There are lots of rumors, as you know, swirling about Diddy and have been accelerated by what's happened to him. One of them is that he had something to do with Tupac Shakur's murder. Do you believe that?
Well, when it comes to situations like that, you got to look at the list of facts. There's a guy by Dwayne Keith Davis who's currently in a Las Vegas detention center, and he swears up and down that Combs promised him a payment to unalive the rapper, and the rapper became unalived. And FBI say Eric Von Zip intercepted the payment and kept it for himself. Like this, the paper trail wouldn't exist. If there's smoke, there's fire, Pierce.
Other people say that Diddy was a Fed himself, that he was on their payroll. Do you think that's a possibility?
Well, that's definitely a possibility, but oftentimes in my culture, being an African-American male, sometimes we can believe that we're bigger than the program. And the moment he decided to sue the liquor company, Diageo, that's when all of the onset of these problems started. When you offend a list of board of directors and all of them are richer than you can get the short end of the stick. And that's what we're watching happen here.
Big homie, we've all heard a lot about these freak-offs. Most people I've talked to say, well, there were layers of parties that Diddy would throw. There was the public one with all the glamour and all the celebrities and stuff, and then there'd be various layers ending up in the freak-off area, and that would go on sometimes for days and was extremely depraved, involved a lot of drugs, a lot of very kinky, depraved sex and so on. What can you tell me about the freak-offs? For those who don't know anything about this world, what was it about the freak-offs that is so fascinating to people, do you think?
What people have to understand is swinger parties exist. And that's exactly the lifestyle that this gentleman lives. He's a swinger. And swingers hang with other swingers. That's what it is. Like the term freak off has become sensationalized by media, but what the true nature and name for this event is going to be called a swinger party, Pierce. And that's what takes place. You people, partners sharing their partner, indulging in sexual acts. As long as things are consensual, what people do is their business. But if I'm getting a call because somebody's applying oppression on other people, that's when things become a problem. And, I had sent in a video of the guy, Combs, walking around, collecting everyone's cell phone before they get onto a yacht to go party. Why do you have to collect everyone's cell phone before you go onto a party? He's collecting the phones himself. That's what I meant by there's layers to the party. The first part of the event is going to be a normal socializing mixer. But, when the guy comes out collecting phones, that's when things are about to get, that's when somebody's cake's getting touched. This is how it goes. It's a zest apocalypse right now, man. We got to do something about this.
Is there any doubt that he was bisexual? Did he? That seems to be clear from a lot of the evidence that's come out.
Yeah. All of these guys are when it comes to that. Like, I've very rarely seen any straight dudes in this industry, man. That's why I pivoted my business. Like, it's like, I don't want to be the only straight man at the party. So, I got to change it up. All of these dudes are, man.
But
all of them are.
And the freak-offs,
all bisexual weirdos.
Right. You're painting a picture of these freak-offs as being consensual largely, although the issue of the phones is obviously significant. and will be tested, I'm sure, in court. But you're also suggesting that it was everyone sort of sharing partners. But isn't the key part of the Diddy case predicated on the fact that he may have been trafficking, in other words, bringing in a lot of sex workers to take part in these as well? And that he, for example, with Cassie Ventura, was, they were having, male sex workers, female sex workers, and so on. In other words, it may have been consensual, but it also involved people who were not, with each other, but actual sex workers joining in.
Yeah. So, whenever you see the little guys, the white dudes come in with the spiky hair looking like vampires, the sex workers is arriving. And at the end of the day, is it consensual if you're promising people a career path and a lifestyle and glitz and glamour, and you're saying, look, we're all doing it. Come join us. You party with us, then I can get you a record deal. I can get you this. That's what's going on to certain people. Everybody isn't being financially compensated, and that's where lies the problem.
Big Homie, you've referenced the fact that several times we tried to do this interview and stuff happened to you that was very concerning. Car with blacked out windows and so on, engaging with your vehicle and so on. Now that you've given
Diddy's trial, I mean, this Diddy situation is getting nastier and nastier and nastier. Rob, before I read this, is there anything you have? Obviously, the only thing we can see is paintings and drawings and all this other stuff.
And that artist should never, ever hold a paintbrush or a drawing pencil. That artist, in the case, is horrible. And we'll show. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me just. So Cassie Ventura testified Sean Diddy Combs controlled freak-off sessions, directing her to have sex with multiple male escorts, stating sometimes Sean and the escort would have intercourse with me. It was just like a lot happening at once, and specifying that escorts would ejaculate usually when it was okay for them. Per Sean, often, this is a New York Post story, folks, so earmuffs. Often on, if you got kids, just don't, I'm going to read this next part. I should have given you a warning. But if you got kids, pause the video and then continue. Often on her body, after which, are we really reading this? Urinating on her? Saying sometimes
pretty,
Sean, he himself or the escort would urinate on me, including an overwhelming incident where she choked because too much urine was in her mouth. What?
Yep.
Ventura detailed the degrading nature of these drug-fueled freak-offs, noting she was high on ecstasy and MDMA, feeling sick almost every time, yet Combs would push her to continue, saying, continue on with the intercourse, even if it felt like one.
What is MDMA? Let me go back to that. MDMA drug, because I heard about this. MDMA, commonly known as ecstasy in Mali, is an empathogen. Okay. MDMA causes euphoria, empathy, increased energy, along with distortions in time and sensory perception. Negative effects: anxiety, depression, confusion, paranoia, sleep problems, and drug cravings can also occur. Physical effects: increased heart rate, blood pressure, muscle tension, teeth clenching, nausea, sweating, and blurred vision may be experienced. Overdose risk: high dose of MDMA can interfere with the body's ability to regulate temperature, potentially leading to hypothermia, overheating, organ failure, and even death. Long-term effects: chronic MDMA use may lead to long-term cognitive deficits such as memory problems, as well as depression, anxiety, and sleep disturbances. How MDMA works. MDMA affects the brain by increasing the activity of certain neurotransmitters, including serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. These neurotransmitters play a role in regulating mood, energy, and pleasure, which explains the euphoric effects of MDMA. Recreational use. MDMA is often used recreationally as a club drug at parties, raves, and nightclubs. The drug referred to as ecstasy, typically in pill form, or Molly, often in powder or crystal form. Pop the Molly, I'm sweating. Woo! PTSD treatment. Don't not approve of clinical use. Legal status. Schedule 1 drug MDMA is classified as a Schedule 1 substance under the Controlled Substances Act, meaning it has high potential for abuse and no currently accepted medical use in the United States. So it's illegal. Manufacturing, distributing, and possessing MDMA without authorization is illegal. Okay, so it's illegal. It's an illegal drug, but it gets you real high, and apparently makes you really want to have the
Diddy's trial. I mean, this Diddy situation is getting nastier and nastier and nastier. Rob, before I read this, is there anything
of the first 2 days?
Excuse me.
Yeah. No, to confront.
felt like vomiting or
Whoa.
what?
Yeah. Dude,
Ventura detailed the degrading nature of these drug-fueled freak-offs, noting she was high on ecstasy and MDMA, feeling sick almost every time, yet Combs would push her to continue on with the intercourse, even if it felt like vomiting or if I was vomiting. She described the session where a blow-up pool filled with baby oil applied every 5 minutes to keep participants glistening, and revealed Combs once left the freak-off to comfort rival Suge Knight. What?
Yeah. No, to confront Suge Knight, not comfort.
To confront Suge to confront Suge Knight.
Hey, Suge, let me get real comfortable with you, baby.
Please don't do anything stupid. Okay, Rob, what do you have to show us before we get into thoughts? Because I got a bunch of stuff here as well myself.
So I have TMZ reciting or reading some of the testimony from Cassie, if you'd like to play that.
Yeah.
Or I have Fox News giving a summary of the first 2 days
Do
of the
TMZ
trial.
first, and let's go to Fox. All right, go for it.
Is he just going to read it?
Did you want Sean to urinate on you? Cassie, I didn't want anyone to urinate on me. Prosecutor, how often did it happen? Answer, often enough.
Okay, so there we go. Now, here's Fox. Go ahead, Rob.
What jurors heard today were tales of appalling physical abuse by Sean Combs as prosecutors portrayed him as a monster who controlled people and plied them with drugs, threats, money, brandishing guns during these on-camera sexual performances that he liked to call freak-offs. And in fact, jurors were shown for the first time today that horrifying videotape, Combs brutally beating, kicking, and dragging his then-girlfriend. And then a male escort took the witness stand, and he talked about how he saw firsthand that same young woman repeatedly battered by the defendant, who then tried to bribe a hotel security guard with a stack of cash to get rid of the evidence. In opening statements, what struck me was how the defense attorney openly admitted that her client committed domestic violence, but then tried to argue, well, that's not sex trafficking for which he's charged. Technically, yes, but it is an underlying crime in the racketeering case against him, which includes kidnapping, arson, sex crimes, bribery, obstruction, all part of this alleged criminal enterprise run by Sean Combs. His attorney also admitted to the jury that her client's conduct is, quote unquote, indefensible, and that he may be a sexual deviant, but that doesn't make him a criminal, which strikes me as not a terribly great defense. Also claiming that the disgusting sex tapes actually prove it was all consensual, and then urging the jury, don't be the moral police here. And finally, Combs' lawyers are going to be arguing, and they said this to the jury, that the alleged female victims, and there are a lot of them, are all motivated to lie out of greed because they filed lawsuits against Combs for money damages. Well, that is a typical defense tactic, but it is dangerous. It is perilous. Jurors might perceive it as the lawyers re-victimizing. Okay,
whatever. All right, I heard something about a person going missing. I'm going to speak about that. In the ongoing federal sex trafficking trial of Sean Diddy Combs, a key witness referred to as victim number 3 has reportedly gone missing. This development has raised significant concerns about the potential impact on the prosecution's case. According to reports, victim number 3 was scheduled to testify against Combs, providing critical insights into alleged sexual exploitation. However, just before the trial's commencement, prosecutors lost contact with her, and efforts to locate her have been unsuccessful. The disappearance has promoted speculation about possible safety concerns or external pressures that may have influenced her decision to withdraw from the proceedings. Legal experts suggest that the absence of such a pivotal witness could pose challenges for the prosecution, potentially weakening their case. Nevertheless, the trial continues with testimonies from other witnesses, including Cassie Ventura, whose accounts have been central to the allegations against Combs. For more detailed information on this development, you can refer to the following resources. Okay, so we have a person that's missing. That was in the middle of the case and she was going to testify. We already have somebody missing. What is going on? Yeah, so the diddler still diddling. All right, the case is crazy. It's not surprising. Okay, it's not. We knew about this. I've been doing this stuff since I was a teenager. Yeah, a very young teenager. You get pretty hip to the demonic nature of the music industry and the people that's in it. I've been knowing about this stuff because the internet's been around, right? YouTube been around since I was like 9, 10. No, I've been a little older than that. Like 11 years old. Oh, excuse me. YouTube been around since I was like 11, 12. So been run into a lot of stuff. It was a bunch of things on there that I've always seen. It was all speculations. They call it conspiracy theories. I always had a belief to it, but I always believed it just a little bit, just because it made too much sense. But yeah, man. Diddy. All right. Will he get off? I think so. Should he? Dude. Seems like a pimp. And coercion is what makes sense to me. He definitely coerced her. She's a young lady. Well, how old was she? 20 years old when he met her? Weird. Okay, let's get into my favorite topic of the night. Satire or reality, decoding Uncle Ruckus's controversial persona. Now, if you don't know who Uncle Ruckus is supposed to be the satire character on the Boondocks. Now, Uncle Ruckus is I would say he's a conservative man, but he's also a man that disrespects, but also speaks the facts about the sentence of slaves in America, or what we like to call blacks. There's and not all of them, but then you can classify and say that he's talking about all of them. Dude is hilarious. And I always was annoyed with his character my entire life because all he ever did was disrespect the sentence of slaves or blacks, right? And a lot of the times come on, man, if it doesn't apply, let it fly. But with him, oh man, it applied a lot. That's why I appreciate his character. It was funny, but man, it doesn't get funnier than this because it was funny, but it hurt. But now I'm older, wiser, Christian now, man. Nobody can say anything that's gonna disturb me. You know, like that. We're not the people that you can disturb with words. All right, because we can see. I can see you. I can see everything. I'm the person. We're the people you can't break us because we have a father. See, most people walk around with no fathers, but Christians, we have fathers. We have somebody to answer to. And unfortunately, most people don't. And this is why you can say words to me. You could talk about anything. I'm not going to be bothered by it. And when you can say this is my issue, not really. I'm going to put this back on me. I can say this is my issue, but not really. I don't sugarcoat anything. And I won't. I'll balance it. I'll be respectful. But I will also not hold back. I will say what it is. I'm not gonna sugarcoat something if I really want you to understand what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the person to talk to if you don't want to hear the truth. If you want to hear the truth, talk to me. I'll let you know. Because from all of the names that I'm told or people call me, one word people never call me is a liar. And I respect that. So I'd rather have you dislike me than to not respect me. I could care less about your respect, but me being honest is going to garner your respect anyway. A lot of people got respect for me. Why? Because I'm honest. I don't hide anything. I tell the truth. Right? You can only gain respect from somebody when you know they're being authentic. You can feel the authenticity of what I say. So a lot of people call me Uncle Ruckus. We're like friends and family members and stuff like that. But whoever, you can call me whatever you want to call me. But guess what? I don't care about what you call me. Why? Because I like being honest. I like getting respect from being honest. I don't like being liked or disliked. I could care less if you like or dislike me. So when you call me a coon or Uncle Tom or Uncle Ruckus, I don't care. I can't care. I could care less. I don't care what anybody on this earth calls me. My wife, my children are the most important thing to me. The most important people to me, especially my wife. My wife. Now, could she bother me with her words? She's a reflection of me. So that's possible, right? My children, they're a reflection of me. So that's possible. Anybody outside of my wife and children, zero power, zero. My parents, my siblings, my friends, cousins, family, anybody, zero. I don't care what culture you're from. I don't care where you were raised. I don't care about what you look like. I don't care if you're dark skinned. I don't care if you're light skinned. I don't care if you got blonde hair, black hair. I could care less. I don't believe in racism, so you can't trick me with the whole racist talk. I don't fall for that stuff. I'm not that kind of person. I'm numb to all of that. I say that to say this. Since I have this mindset, I don't expect people to have this mindset. I don't. But since I have this mindset and I know what you say can't hurt me, I'm going to speak like that. Like what I say is not supposed to hurt you. Does that get me in trouble a lot? Of course. But what's trouble? I could care less. Jesus hurt a lot of people's feelings. Right? I told my daughter this the other day. Doesn't matter if somebody like you or not. It doesn't. At all. Zero. As long as you're standing on what you believe in, stand on your convictions, doesn't matter. But when we play this clip with Uncle Ruckus, because it's perfect.
Well, I'm black now. So the first thing I did was quit all my jobs. I don't know how I'm supposed to pay the bills. Probably have to start selling crack or rapping about selling crack. You know, I might not even have revitiligo. Okay, I'm black. What am I supposed to do now? So this is it, huh? Is this what
he put on a white tee, a big white tee?
What you do all day? Sit there reading books that make you think better of yourself, huh? Black man can't get nowhere with his little pecan-sized mind. So now you can read. Now what? What you gonna do now? Oh, nothing. That's what I thought. You know why? Cause
I'm gonna speak on that. Look, now I'm not tripping, but this is the thing that we do, right? when I say we, I'm speaking about the Americans, descendants of slaves like myself. We get into literature to make ourselves feel better about ourselves. That might not be the initial point, but we want to learn. We're diving into things, and we want to learn about a lot of things and certain things. We'll read about a bunch of things. We'll understand a bunch of things, and this is outside of the Bible, of course. Lately, the culture is not interested in the Bible at all. And when I say the culture, I'm just talking about the inner city black communities, the working class blacks. This is where, so when I say we talk about blacks, what you're talking about for the most part is you're talking about the working class descendants of slaves, because we're the ones that's consumed a culture that goes against our very nature, right? When you're in the working class, you tend to live in a working class society, and working class societies are pretty broken because the objective of their lifestyle is to consume. And what happens is, when you're in the working class, you live in this 40 hours a week life of dedicated to focusing on working in your job. What does that do? That already sets 40 hours or more tied to you working. Okay, boom, that's that. You got 40 hours locked in on that part. And then the way cultures or the way societies build, the way the cities build, especially in the metro areas, they already have a life for you to compensate for this 40 hours. And those 40 hours, you're working. And what are you doing for the others? And then you're scheduled to sleep 8 hours a day, right? You still got to do that. So there's a very small window of you to have a different lifestyle than somebody else. Most people in the working class live similar lifestyles. What does this do? This creates similar societies. Descendants of slaves, we wasn't dominating in the working class like that. Everybody works. But when I say working class, I'm talking about people that aren't entrepreneurs. I'm talking about people that clock in for work and clock in for a job. Those lifestyles can be programmed to be a certain way by the people that's leading, or the people that's ahead of the working class, the people that's in control of it, the leadership amongst the businesses that the working class works into, right? So there's only so much different people. There's only so much people can be. You only got so many different ways of living, right? But when you get 40 hours to a job like most people do in the working class, you're going to have a similar lifestyle, and you're going to pick up similar cultures. You're going to pick up similar behaviors. And going back to the reading part, the reading point is we'll pick up books, we'll learn, we'll read, but it'll end there because we still have to dedicate most of our life into this lifestyle. So yeah, it's cool to learn stuff and it's cool to know, but how can you implement when you live in this lifestyle? It's already designed for you, and it's designed and programs you to stay in that lifestyle. I was one of the people that actually said, no, I'm not gonna keep doing this. I gotta do something about this, because it became my lifestyle. And I couldn't get conscious to anything. Even though I had knowledge about certain things, I couldn't live it or implement it because I was trapped in it. Right? So yeah, read, do your reading, do everything you can, live on, learn everything you need to learn. But the implementing part is hard for the man that's in the working class.
We niggas, both of us, and that's all we ever gonna be. That's all we ever gonna be. So this is what I have to look forward to as a black man, huh? Just sitting around playing PlayStation all day, waiting for the next Madden to come out. Maybe I should go out and put rims and all kinds of goofy shit on my truck.
Come on. Am I tripping, or is he speaking facts? Working class blacks, there's only so much different your lifestyle can be. When you're working all week, you want to chill, relax at the house. They fed you tech. They fed you technology, right? So much for a very long time. We've been getting fed tech for a good 100 years almost. And we're consumed in the tech so much that there's a lifestyle outside of our 40 hours a week that we're programmed to follow. And this is one of them. Playing a video game. That's big. That was big for me when I was younger. So, and that's big for people in the working class, which most Black people live in. So the technology is already consuming us so much that outside of our 40 hours of working, we're putting 20 in this. That's already 20 to 40. Let's talk about it. That's already setting us up to not be contributing to anything else or anybody, just contributing to ourselves. So then you pick up a very selfish nation. Let's continue.
Just sitting around playing PlayStation all day, waiting for the next Madden to come out. Maybe I should go out and put rims and all kinds of goofy shit on my truck. Oh, we probably gonna die in a second now from one of these conditions and diseases that niggas get. You name it. Diabetes, gout, high blood pressure, asthma, sickle cell.
Oh, Ruckus, stop. This is all in your damn head. You're the exact same fool you were last week. You were black then, you're black now, and you're gonna be black tomorrow. Ain't nothing wrong with being black. If you give it a chance, you might actually like it. Mm-hmm. Ruckus, what are we doing here?
Well, this is what niggas do, right? Buy sneakers. Then maybe later we'll buy loud stereos and B-rate women and rap lyrics.
Come on. And this is the society that this is the part and the behaviors of this nation. When I say this nation, the blacks, this black nation, the working class nation. This is the part that we glorify, and if we don't glorify it, we ignore the bad side of it. We pretend that this isn't a bad thing to have in a culture. Oh, that's just us. Oh, we like tennis shoes. No, you picked up a consumer mentality. They pretty much programmed, like these high corporations programmed you to be this way, built you to be this way, built you to consume. And now the working class blacks are heavy consumers to the point where we buy sneakers, we buy basketball shoes, and don't play basketball in them. It's heavy in our culture to buy basketball sneakers and not wear them. Put this on me. When I was a kid, I was in school, right? For years, this happens. I haven't seen this with anyone else. The new Jordans will come out and kids will put plastic bags on them and wear them to school. Because they didn't want to, while they're walking to school, they didn't want to step in the mud, step in the grass, step on dirt. They wanted to keep the shoes fresh. I hear you. But they're basketball shoes. You're supposed to play basketball in them. But guess what? It became a fashion statement. Nikes, Jordans, they became fashion statements. When I was a kid, Shaq had shoes. Shout out to Shaq. Shout out to Shaquille O'Neal. He put out basketball shoes that was affordable for inner city families, black ones. What we got, and Shaq was the man. Shaq was a superstar. Shaquille O'Neal, most dominant big man in the league for a long time. Shaq was the man. He put out sneakers, but because they weren't hundreds of dollars, people laughed at you for having them. You couldn't wear Shaqs. If you had Shaqs on your feet, people laughed at you. People made fun of you. You're broke. Boy, you have on Shaqs. Why is you talking? You have on Shaqs. And mind you, we're in the inner city community. I grew up in the mud. Shoes aren't affordable, especially that people who come from families like mine. My parents got 6 children. I'm one of 6. Of course, my parents didn't have money to buy Jordans. But some way, somehow we managed to get a couple pairs of some nice shoes, but it was just greed. That mentality of I don't want to be a brokey. That mentality of I don't want to be laughed at. That mentality of I care about what other people think of me, so I'm not gonna wear this, and I don't want to wear this. I can't wear this. Shaq made it possible for you to wear a superstar's sneakers. Stephon Marbury did the same thing. He made affordable shoes, but guess what? If your shoes wasn't expensive, people laughed at you, bullied you for wearing them. I don't think I've ever had a pair of Shaqs. Why? I had some LeBrons. I had Jordans. I had Nikes. And I was in the same loop, not playing basketball in them. Shaq made some shoes affordable, even though they're supposed to be used to play basketball. You wore them to school, people laughed at you. They were in the cheap stores, and he made it affordable. They were at Burlington's of the world. They were in the Payless shoe stores. We had an opportunity to wear a superstar sneakers, but because they weren't expensive and because they weren't $100 or more, or 150 or more, and they didn't cost like Jordans, people laughed at you. Sickening, sickening. That's the culture, though. This working class culture, this consumer culture.
Is this the kind of shit you niggas put on your feet nowadays? It look like a damn astronaut shoe. I'm black. You niggas hated will buy loud stereos and B-rate women and rap lyrics. Is this the kind of shit you niggas put on your feet nowadays? It look like a damn astronaut shoe. I'm black. I'm not walking to the moon. I'm walking to the liquor store.
Ruckus, stop. Come on, man.
LeBron James, Allen Iverson. Can I get a shoe named after a white man, please?
Man, come on. Uncle Ruckus is not tripping. Uncle Ruckus. That whole clip. How many lies were told? How many? He said, I'm black. I ain't walking to the I'm black. I ain't playing basketball. I'm walking to the liquor store. No, he said he got the astronaut shoes. Like, what's these, some astronaut shoes? I'm black. I ain't walking to the moon. I'm walking to the liquor store. And guess what? It's fun. Guess why it's funny? Because it's true. Yes, black people go to the liquor store a lot. And I'm not saying this at the hands of blacks. Saying like we asked for this. Yet, but it's the working class, right? The working class became a godless society, especially after the Industrial Revolution. This place became a money machine. America has become a money machine. And there's been so many different products laid out everywhere that man never even thought about 50 years ago. 50 years ago, people wasn't worried about your sneakers and what brand shoes you had. Now, I did see a video from the 50s and the 60s that talked about how the black man loves, or black people love wearing name brand things to feel validated. Dr. Umar Johnson taught me that. He taught me that black people, you feel me? What they do is they buy name brand things because they feel worthless. This is 100% true. This is why people invest into name brand things, because to make their physical vessel look like it's worth something, because inside I'm worthless. It's become a common theme amongst us that if we don't have anything name brand on it, if my vessel ain't looking right, if I'm not validated by my peers, then I'm nothing. That was not the culture that existed 50 years ago. It wasn't. Even though I seen the video, I think it said 50s, 60s, 70s or something. I guess it was like a video of a guy putting on a suit or something. I don't know. But if I'm not validated by my peers, I'm worthless. This is how man feels today. The working class black people. This is how they feel. Yes, some other people could feel this way, of course. But I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the working class blacks. I'm mixed. So I'm sure the working class whites feel this way too. I have African in me, European in me, Native American. No Mexico. So when I'm speaking about these things, I'm coming from a place of love. I got love for everyone. I'm a Christian. I want to see everybody prospering. I want to see everybody good. But what I don't see is progress within the culture that I grew up in. It's getting worse. When I was 13, 14 years old, man, people were glorifying garbage. It's always been a thing. Always. The culture I grew up in glorifies trash. And Uncle Ruckus calls it out. I'm not knocking anyone. And because the issue is people are hurt about what he says, but never address the elephant in the room. You addressing your feelings about what he said about it. Well, you shouldn't say that. You don't have to say that. White people say the N-word with the ER on the end. That's way more hurtful than with the A at the end. Man, the working class blacks have become such a consumer society and a feeling society. Don't hurt my feelings. You didn't have to say it like that. Bro. You see, when you're Christian, you don't care about what people say. You don't care about what people think. I'm only seeking validation from God. No one else. Jesus Christ himself. That's the only man I'm answering to. But when you're in a godless society, you're seeking validation from others. Oh, I'm gay. They're not acknowledging me that I'm gay. I'm trans, and people aren't agreeing and saying that I'm trans. Looking for validation from others. It's the same stuff. This culture is very heavy inside of the working class consumer societies, which black people dominate in. Black people in America dominate the working class consumer society. This is where most blacks are. The descendants of slaves are in the working class as in mass. So you talk 95, maybe 90 to 95% of black descendants of slaves are in the working class. And they picked up this mentality, picked up this a society of I need validation from others. I feel worthless. It's only the Christians that have this right. Maybe Muslims, maybe. You have to kind of be a part of some religious, because you have to stand on something when you're living. If you don't stand on something, people can get at you and say something to you and hurt your feelings. But if you stand on a principle, if you stand on purpose and you've got a purpose in life, nobody can knock you off your square. So I don't care what you call me. I don't care what he calls me. I don't care what she calls me. I don't care what you call my wife. I don't care what you call my children, my family. Talk. Keep talking. Do your thing. It doesn't bother me. I have a goal. I have a plan. And somebody's words is never going to disturb or break me. But that's for the weak society. And who picked up this weak society? I mean, who picked up the weak society? Who's in this weak society? The working class consumers that want to validate the things that they purchase. They want to validate the lifestyle that they live. You want to validate the lifestyle that you live from others. I'm not looking for validation from anyone. I'm seeking validation from God. That's what keeps me in the realm of not giving up about what anyone says. All right? That does it for me. This is episode number 21, House of War. I will see you guys tomorrow in the next episode, 22. And one more thing. Hit the like button, please. Hit the subscribe button. Subscribe for more. We got 10 days to get to 100 subscribers. I want you to help me get there. I'll see you guys in the next video.